We are proud and privileged today to welcome our beloved champion in education for education and literacy, Senator Tartaglione, and Governor Tom Wolfe to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Philadelphia. We have been serving kids who need us most for over 135 years in 22 locations. Over the past 10 years, we have transformed this historic organization, renovating facilities and adding critical programs with financial stability to create life-changing opportunities for our youth. Standing by our side with steadfast leadership and support as a champion for our kids, their families, and our community, Governor Wolfe has shown his dedication and commitment to the safety and well-being and security of our kids with much-needed RACP support to help create job opportunities, career development, and educational resources for our children. Thank you, Governor Wolfe, for caring for our kids. We truly are honored and pleased to have you visit us today at our Boys and Girls Club. Ladies and gentlemen, no one's governor but ours, Governor Tom Wolfe.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for that, and it's great to be here. Obviously, Senator Tartaglione and Representative Driscoll, soon to be Council.
Your lips to God's ears, Governor.
Yeah, okay. and it's good to have you here. And Freddie, it's good to be with you. And also, it's great to be with you, Dr. McKinney. I am pleased to be here and had a brief tour of the place. You're doing some really great things here, so congratulations. And I want to begin with a special thank you to Senator Tartaglione. She is doing some remarkable work on behalf of workers and families in Pennsylvania, and it has been an honor to work with you to introduce our plan to put in front of the General Assembly to get them to put money back in the pockets of Pennsylvanians. And I hope that bill gets to my desk soon, because as soon as it does, I'll sign it. But all of us know that Pennsylvanians are struggling right now. Inflation is rising, and as a result, the price of everything is going up. Gas, groceries, they're all higher right now than they've ever been before, actually higher now than they were just a few weeks ago. So for many families who are living from paycheck to paycheck, that increase in day-to-day expenses can mean some really painful trade-offs, some very painful choices, like having to choose between paying for the food or this month's rent. Pennsylvania, meanwhile, the government, the Commonwealth, is sitting on billions of dollars in federal COVID relief money. In fact, it's a little over $2 billion that we have left of the $7 billion that we got a few months ago. And I want to make sure that that money gets put back in the pockets of Pennsylvanians, and I want to do it right now. This money was given to us from Washington. And I'm not talking about the rainy day fund here. I'm not talking about budget. This is money over and above that. It's sitting there. It's just sitting there. The money was given to us to help the people of Pennsylvania recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's past time we do that we actually give it to the Pennsylvanians to help them through the struggles, help them get back on their feet. At a time when so many are hurting, the worst thing we can do is nothing. I think we're all open to any suggestion that comes to us to help people of Pennsylvania in this recovery, Pennsylvanians who are struggling. The only thing I think we have to agree on is that we can't wait. We need that right now. We can't do nothing. So I'm proposing that we use $1.7 billion in American Rescue Plan money to help Pennsylvanians not only recover from the pandemic, but to start back on the path to prosperity. The plan includes, out of that $1.7 million, includes $500 million for the Pennsylvania Opportunity Program. It's going to do one simple thing: put $2,000 directly into the pockets of Pennsylvanians. $2,000. Pennsylvanians who get that money can use it for whatever they need. They can buy groceries with it. They can pay the higher gas prices. They can use it to offset the cost of rent or child care, or anything else that's causing hardship in their family. This is about getting money into the hands of people who need it. It's about helping hardworking Pennsylvanians and families get back on their feet, instead of just scraping by day to day, going from hand to mouth. When families are not struggling to get by, reliance on the social safety net programs goes down. That saves taxpayer money. And when Pennsylvanians have a little extra money in the bank, they spend more in local businesses, they invest in homes, and they give it back to their communities. This plan is good for families, it's good for children, and it's good for workers, it's good for businesses, it's good for our economy. We need to take action now to get this money into the hands of the people who need it, and I call on Republican leaders in the General Assembly to send Senator Tartaglione's bill to my desk as soon as possible, because Pennsylvanians cannot afford to wait. I'll sign it as soon as you get it there. So now I'm going to turn things over to the senator to talk about this. Senator Tartaglione.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you to everyone for coming, and especially Governor Wolfe for being here today at the Bridesburg Boys and Girls Club. What an incredible space. I can feel the warmth and dedication of the staff and children that use this club. It's no secret that a lot has changed in the last few years, and that many Pennsylvanians have their economic certainty ripped away from them as a result of the financial hardships the pandemic brought. When our communities were confronted with ever-changing climate generated by COVID-19, families across this Commonwealth demonstrated perseverance and tenacity. Pennsylvanians have proven their toughness in navigating unemployment compensation, combining work from home with childcare and online schooling, and finding ways to make ends meet. That's why I am introducing this legislation that would drive assistance directly to the Pennsylvanians that need it most. I do want to note that Representative Kirkland was supposed to be here. He's spearheading this legislation in the House, but he had a family emergency. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that he's my partner in the House. The PA Opportunity Program will serve as a one-stop shop for direct financial assistance, providing up to $2,000 per needy household. Hundreds of millions of dollars will also be put back into the economy at a time when it needs it most. This once-in-a-generation program will assist with pandemic-related expenses already incurred or anticipated down the road, and is already fully funded thanks to President Biden and the Democratic colleagues in the United States House and Senate and their passing the American Rescue Plan. The PA Opportunity Program dollars can be spent to help Pennsylvanians address a myriad of past and future expenses, including child care, rental and mortgage assistance, filling up their gas tank, and much more. We currently have a chance to make crucially needed investments in our communities, our people, and our homes. Investments that will help address systemic underfunding of educational services and child care, ensure every Pennsylvanian has a safe home to go to, as well as to ensure medical bills are not a crippling burden on their family. We need to act now and get Pennsylvanians the support that they need. I'd like to now introduce Freddie Shamaga? Shagab. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, my mom can't pronounce it sometimes. Afternoon. First and foremost, let me just be very clear about how humbled and honored I am to be here today to fight for those who do not have. To the governor's office, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for asking me to be here. To the Boys and Girls Club, bless your work. As a kid that came from a single-parent home, I know what places like this can do. You save lives, so thank you. So oftentimes, right, we hear this rhetoric about if you want to come out of the trenches, you got to work hard. You got to believe in yourself. You have to have it. You have to have grind. And I used to believe in that too, until I found myself homeless, panhandling, stuck in the grips of mental health and substance abuse. And then I realized coming out of that, it didn't matter how hard I wanted to work, I needed support. That's what this PA Opportunity Fund can do. The reason that we're asking to pass this legislation is for those that don't have what we have. So let me give you an example. I come from a single-parent home. I remember my mom dropping me off at 5 a.m. where there was times where I ate that she did not eat. And I think about if we would have had a fund like this, what could have happened and what would the tenor and the tone of my house would have been if there would have been funds available for somebody like us. Fast forward. This comes across, right? And what we can now do is we think COVID was devastating to people. It left families at the table having to figure out, do we pay daycare or do we pay electric bill? Do we pay food money or do we do something else? Pennsylvanians shouldn't have to deal with that, especially when we have the opportunity and when we have the right to make sure that they do well. This isn't a short-term fix. We're thinking long-term. So if this is able to get in front of them and they can seek these funds for childcare, for skilled workers, and for education, this will allow them to move forward and do better. And guess what happens? When Pennsylvanians do better, the Commonwealth does better. It just makes sense. So because people helped me out, supported me, I ended up at Delaware County Community College, where I graduated and I received the all-state P academic team, which led me to Westchester University. Because there were certain programs there for mental health and substance abuse and things that I needed, I'm now going to graduate next month, summa cum laude, and I'm selected as a commencement speaker. I promise you that while I have these wonderful accolades, the reason it happened is because there's a village behind me that you'll never see. And part of that village was people in power signing legislation like the PA Opportunity Fund that allowed me to thrive. One of the quotes I always go back to is W.E.B. Du Bois in education. Education is not supposed to just teach work. Education is supposed to teach life. And I think that we have the opportunity and we have it is our ability and it is our right, and it is only right that we make sure we sign this legislation so that Pennsylvanians do not have to struggle and they can receive the funds that they need and they can take care of their families. I'll leave you with this. My life now is like no other. Some days I wake up and I can't believe where I'm at. But I promise you, hadn't there been people in rooms of policy that cared about somebody like me, I wouldn't be here. So think about it. I travel the country now, I speak on mental health and addiction, and I'm a graduate, all because of things like the PA Opportunity Fund. Let's do what's right and help Pennsylvanians to be able to succeed. Now, I will bring to the table, to the podium rather, a Dr. Bill Kinney, who's the Executive Director of the New Kensington Community Development. He is a change agent and saving lives. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. That's gonna be hard to come after. My man brought some energy, and I appreciate that on this gloomy, hard day. But I was happy to come out today, too, for the same reasons. You know, this is something that matters for our communities, and that's the situation we're in, is that there is still so much need. I'm always happy to come out and support anything that our senator cares about, because she cares about families. Our governor cares about families, and that's what this is really about, I think, in a lot of different ways. As I was introduced as, I'm the Executive Director of New Kensington Community Development Corporation. Our mission is to advance social equity and economic empowerment by nurturing and creating opportunities for residents to live in and actively shape their neighborhoods of choice. We're about families, we're about communities, and we do that in a holistic way. We, like many organizations, work with some of the most vulnerable populations in the state. And like many organizations, we've worked with our communities to help them through the challenges of the pandemic. And those challenges have been very real. We've seen the dramatic increases in our residents' needs, ranging from them needing to stabilize employment, to the need for emergency food, to the support they need to stay in their homes. It's taken so many different forms. So again, we thank Governor Wolfe and Senator Tartaglione in Kirkland for not forgetting that the impacts of the pandemic have not ended, first of all. especially for our most vulnerable communities. This is an ongoing issue. I also want to thank folks for thinking of it in a holistic way. I think it is important to do this through ARPA and connecting with that and looking and saying, hey, this is a part of a much larger plan. There's a lot of different pieces that need to come into play. The PA Opportunity Program, again, there are lower income households that have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. So this is an equity issue, and one that the PA Opportunity Program addresses. Whether those proposed resources are needed to combat inflation, gas prices, rent, mortgages, whatever it is, the need is very, very real. And we see that on a day-to-day basis. We just heard from Freddie as well, talking about real things, real people, real communities, and these needs are very real. Again, I put it in that larger context, as the governor talked about as well, because we also, in our work, we work very closely with small businesses in our community. We've spent the past 2 years helping them survive the pandemic. And all of the support that has been able to come through the state and through the feds have been critical to those small businesses' survival. But again, those businesses that are the backbones of our community still have need right now. They still need support, and we need to be creative in how we're continuing to support them. As an organization that provides support around housing, we have again seen firsthand the increased need that's in our communities to stabilize housing. We strive on a daily basis to increase affordable housing in one form, but the other is to just keep people in their homes, right? And one of the ways we do that is through making sure that people can pay their rent, pay their mortgages, and again, this larger package really looks at adding to that rebate that already exists and making that something that can really help folks. Another thing I want to point to before I'll stop is that the pandemic, as we all know, has taken a significant toll on our healthcare systems and on our healthcare workers. As an organization that partners closely with the state through the Health Empowerment Zone and having a community health workers program that not only trains but also employs residents to be community health workers within our community, there is this incredible need to, again, train and retain workers within the healthcare systems. We need more of those programs that keep those things alive and allow us to continue to do that. So there's all of these different issues that we've been hit with. There's no simple one way that we've been affected, and there's no simple one way out. But this is a real step in the direction that we need to take. The pandemic, as I said, has exacerbated the problems facing our most vulnerable residents. We appreciate this proposed program. We also want to really thank the state for continuing to work on these larger plans. We look forward to continue working with the state to address not only the impacts of things like the pandemic itself, but to continue addressing the root causes of the issues such as poverty, the need for affordable housing, appropriate health care, education, lack of safety in communities, which when then a larger issue like the pandemic comes, we will be more prepared within our communities to be able to address. So again, I want to thank you all for coming out. I thank you all for putting this forward to us, and I'm going to turn things back over to our governor.
So I just want to acknowledge Senator Sharice Street, who's here. Thank you for being here. This is great. And I also want to say, Freddie, you brought up two things that I think are really, the two things I want to say about your comments especially. He said, and he's right, that this is a program, the Pennsylvania Opportunities Program, is focused on families, up to $2,000 per family, which would really be helpful to those families. But the other thing he said is that this is also going to be really important for Pennsylvania. It's not just those families, it's really important. The second thing I want to say is I'm glad I'm term limited, because I figure if I had to run against you, I'm not sure how well I'd do. So thank you. So now, any questions for any of us? Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you again for having us, Senator Tartaglia. Good to see you. Thank you.
Sorry, I wasn't prepared for that.
No, it's okay.
So, and that's the test to get into the program you need?
Well, no, we actually testing them to see what level, where they are
Yes.
in the schools. Where they're-
Yeah.
So how do they get into the program in the first place?
So this year it's sorry. um, we do different letter sounds and stuff you've probably heard of with your own kids. Yeah.
No, it's okay. So what we did is we're bringing the kids so they're learning how to read using their sounds, and they write in the air, they go ah. Tests. This time tests make their minds freeze and they forget everything they've learned. So a lot of times they'll learn in class. Question number 19, the kids look down and they start to fill in because they're down on 10.
Yeah.
You know. So what they need versus.
So they don't learn they.
So it's more writing in the air and everything. It's not they're combining all, they're using all the various different parts of their brain rather than just being like, okay.
Brain, which is this left side of your brain, and it was the memorization and repetition. It wasn't the long term, you weren't really learning. Yeah, you'd be surprised on how limited and what you really retain, which we want them to retain everything they've learned. Right. However, when you're learning in a linear approach, you're not retaining everything you've learned. You'll skip on and be pushed through to the next grade. And then when you get older, then you have to go and educate your school are now getting A's and B's. So a lot of the change has been tremendous. A lot of parents have come in and they'll be crying.
Yeah.
Most kids learn, but some kids just don't learn.
Yeah, well, they say 1 out of 5 are spatial thinkers. We think in Boys and Girls Clubs it's 2 to 3 out of 5.